This content is disturbing and may be traumatizing. If you are under 18 years old, please stop the video and don't watch it. Today I'm going to tell you a dark web story that will freeze your blood. The topic is Pig Society. The owner of this story is a Reddit user. His name is Paul. He shares an unforgettable dark web experience he had in 2018. What he tells is so unusual and so terrifying. Some users say that he is lying or even that it is a horror story. On top of that, Paul temporarily shared dark web links and a short video on Reddit. After what I have told you, I guess that you will not be able to eat anything for a certain period of time. I share directly with you what Paul wrote. I'm Paul. After 2018, I lost my joy of living. I live daily. I get up, eat something and sleep. I wander around and watch happy people outside, and I see that they all have dark sides. I do some computer work, because I need money to live, and I'm afraid to trust people. We humans are the greatest disaster that has ever happened to the world. We are the devil himself. In 2018, I got a text from Daniel, my college friend. Let's meet in the evening. He said he would give me the biggest opportunity of my life. Daniel was a good friend of mine. We had great days with him. We even did business together for a while, but we sank. But we had so much fun. In the evening, Daniel and I met at a pub we love in Manhattan. I noticed it while drinking. Daniel could not stand still. It was like he had changed. He was exciting. I have something to tell you. I haven't been here for a month. Do you know where I was? He said. He continued to tell. Thanks to a friend, I can live till now. The weirdest, most comforting. I had the most wonderful experience. As long as I don't feel myself, I feel energetic. I've officially opened my eyes to life again. What are you talking about? In laughter, and he said, surprise, to me. It will change you completely. You will be in the same environment with great people, and I'll take you to a meal you can't taste anywhere in the world, and I will pay for this first meal. Do we have a deal? At that time I was already in grief. I broke up with my girlfriend again. I agreed to meet other girls for a little change. Wait, Daniel said. He took a computer out of his bag and a strange gadget with him. We filled out a form on a site, paid $5,244.52 per person. I could not believe my eyes. That was literally a fortune for a meal. I asked why it was $5,244.52. not $5,000. He told me that prices vary as it is a Bitcoin payment. Made reservation for 20 days later. I thought it was a very important place, because the closest booking day was 20 days later. That night I unconsciously thought about it. What food could be this expensive? What was so special? On the 20th day, Daniel called around 6 p.m. and he said he would pick me up at home, that I have to be ready at 8 o'clock. So I asked what I should wear. He said, wear what you want. Special clothes are given there. He picked me up from the house at exactly 8 p.m. We never spoke in the car. He entered a parking lot outside the city, parked on the 3rd floor. We were waiting in the car. I asked, what are we waiting for? He said they will take us. I said who? He said, pigs. A stylish limousine has arrived. There was only a chauffeur in a pig mask. He opened our door and we just got on. Daniel poured champagne. Drink a little, relax. He said, don't be so nervous. Tonight will be the best night of your life. Believe me. He said, I'm a little loose. Then I noticed a detail. The inside of the limousine was out of sight. The windows should have been covered. The driver was also not visible. When I asked Daniel, he said rules. After an hour and a half, the driver opened our door. We were in a desert place. It's quiet and in pitch dark. Another pig-masked woman greeted us. She wore a short red skirt and heels. She took us to a place like an underground bunker. She stopped at the door and told us to go downstairs. It was rusty, damp and wet. We came to a tunnel that smells incredibly bad. The tunnel was very narrow. It was like 2 meters. In the long and endless corridor, we were walking with Daniel. We reached the end of the corridor. In the middle of a paved door was the figure of a pig. The door opened slowly. This time, another pig-masked man greeted us. We started following him. We entered a white room. There were 2 stretchers in the room. There were prepared clothes, shoes, gloves and a pig mask on the stretcher, and 2 lockers for us to put our clothes on. Daniel said, "Come on, let's get dressed." We wore chemical suits. It was pale. I laughed and said, "Why aren't we wearing these?" Daniel said the rules. We put on the gloves. Daniel handed me the pig mask, and he said, "No matter what, do not take off this mask, even if you go to the toilet." He said that the rule is the rule. You will follow them. I said I wanted to leave here. I was scared and now it seemed ridiculous. Daniel said we paid a lot of money. You haven't seen the real fun yet, and somehow he convinced me. When we finished talking, 2 people picked us up. We walked down a different corridor. The corridor led to another room. The room was like an interrogation room, and there were 6 people inside, dressed just like us, in yellow and pig masks. I looked around. There was a glass whose back could not be seen. There were 8 people with us and there were 8 chairs. We sat down. They gave us a remote-like device with numbers on it, from 1 to 6. I turned to Daniel, asked, "What is this?" Daniel made a silent sign. The lights behind the glass came on. There were 6 people, naked, eyes closed, behind the glass. They each had a number, from 1 to 6. 3 women, 3 men. Someone said the voting has begun. Daniel said pick a number. I said why? He said just choose. I chose number 4. He was a black teenager. I don't know why I chose it. The result of the voting has been announced. We chose number 4 for 3 people. Others had chosen different numbers. Everyone applauded. I applauded too. After a while, another door opened on the other side of the room. We came to a huge ballroom. Classical music was playing inside and it was jam-packed. They were all dressed like us, and they were all wearing pig masks. They were drinking. And there were 8 large round tables, 8 chairs at each table. That's when I realized that this was my group. We were going to have dinner together. Waiters in pig masks were serving drinks. Other people in pig masks were talking to each other and having fun. After a while the lights went out and everyone started screaming and clapping like crazy. The lights on the 8 tables were on. Only the tables were lit. I heard an announcement. Get ready for dinner. A waiter in a pig mask came up to us. I will be your waiter tonight, sir, he said. He took us to our table. The countdown has begun from the speakers. 66 seconds. When the count was finished, the round treasure on the table was opened. The black youth we had chosen, tied by his feet, fell towards the table. My lips went numb with fear, and I asked Daniel, "What is that?" He said, "It's our food." The waiter placed copper buckets next to us all. He said it was for bones. Daniel laughed in a whisper, saying that the first time I used this bucket to throw up. That night, with that smile, I understood Daniel was not human. He had turned into something else. I wanted to get up. Daniel grabbed my leg, said if I got up without eating, I'd be the one to get eaten next time, and added rules. At the other end of the hall, the door opened. A lot of waiters came in lined up with plates. They came to our table. On the plate in front of me was a sharp knife. I asked the waiter, "What is this?" The waiter suddenly stopped and looked at me. Daniel cuts in and said, "It's fine." He said I'm with him and calmed the situation. He said it's his first time. The waiter scrutinized me and walked away from the table. Daniel grabbed my arm and squeezed. He said, "Don't ever talk to pigs again." He said, "Don't ask questions. If you have a problem, ask me." I asked, "What's this knife for?" He said it's for cutting him, to eat him. First of all, I threw up at that moment. My vomiting wouldn't stop. I drank water. I felt around. I couldn't even control my breathing. I saw a table. in the middle of the table. There was no person tied by his feet. There were no knives and plates. I asked Daniel why the table was empty. He said the meat on that table would be cooked and brought, and added, "I want this impulse of your life, Paul." He said. I couldn't believe it. We're going to cut a person alive and eat him alive. Thinking about it, I threw up again. An alarm sounded and then silence. Everyone took their knife and we waited like that. Once again, we heard the alarm and everyone started cutting the person in front of them like crazy. Blood was gushing out. Daniel grabbed the victim's arm. He began to cut a thick piece of meat. I couldn't believe my eyes. One of our table cut a huge piece of meat from his calf. Everyone at the table shouted cheers and sipped their drinks. The table was covered in blood. Daniel began to eat the piece he had cut. The black man was still alive. I saw his eyes. He was crying. There were tears in his eyes. I couldn't believe it. I asked Daniel, "Why isn't he yelling? Is he still alive?" Daniel replied, "Yes, he's alive. Anyway, here's the fun. The sooner he dies, the better it tastes." I said again, "Why isn't he shouting? His whole body is numb. He doesn't feel it." He said, "Don't worry." I saw two pigs staring at me from afar, pointing and talking among themselves. Then they came to us. They said something to Daniel. Daniel turned to me, said, "Man, you have to eat." That's what the rules said. I couldn't eat. I stopped and tried but still couldn't eat. Daniel said, "If you don't eat they will take you away, and you'll be the next meal. Come on, relax and have a bite." I took the knife. My hands were shaking. I grabbed the victim's arm. I cut a small piece. And then I put it in my mouth. I don't remember the taste or the feeling because of fear. I immediately swallowed the meat. The pigs did not go away from our table. One of them grabbed the severed arm. He brought it in front of me and showed the wrist of the amputated arm. "They want you to rip it off the wrist and eat it." I said, "I can't." He said, "You will. You have to do it." He said, "You know the rules." I held the hand. I was cutting with a knife. The skin was being cut, but the meat was not. The pigs began to whisper among themselves again. Daniel turned to me and said, "Nothing good will happen, come on." I cut it with all my might, fearing that I would be the food on the table at that moment. The hand was severed. Daniel said to start eating one of the fingers. I started to eat like a wild animal. When a finger was gone, I threw the bones into the bucket. The people at the table started to applaud me, shouting "Bravo." They raised a toast in honor. The pigs left me. I was relieved at that moment. I had remnants of fingers in my teeth. My mouth was full of blood. At that moment, I felt the taste of blood. I am disgusted with myself. Someone at the table stood up. The black teenager nearly died. His eyes were about to close. Everyone took up their knives. The one standing said something in Latin. I can't remember exactly. He lifted the knife and with one blow, he stabbed the boy in the chest and slashed his chest. He split his ribs with his hands, pulled out the heart and cut it. Everyone started banging the handle of the knife on the table at once. It was a sign of respect. He bites his heart, and gave it to another person beside him. He bit it too and gave it to another one. It was my turn. I bite, chew, swallow, and I gave the heart to someone else. That night never ended. I was at home in the morning. I went straight to bed. I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the eyes of that black young man. It's been 3 weeks. It was like my life was over. I was thinking of committing suicide, but because I was a coward, I didn't have the courage. Daniel called one night. He said he has one more meal next week. I said, "Are you out of your mind?" I said, "I'm not coming to these meals anymore," and cursed. And I said not to call me again. It was a little quiet. Then he said, "You will buy me 5 meals. He said the money is in advance. Why? I asked. He said, "The rules. Whoever brings you will order the other 5 meals." I sold 2 of my cars. I had some savings. I gave Daniel the money for 5 meals. It's been 6 days. I got an unknown email. They demanded $25,000 as payment for leaving the pig society. From my cell phone that was in my clothes in the dressing room that day, they copied all the data to their phones. They sent me the list of names and photos of the people in my phone. They sent a wallet code and gave me 6 days. I took a loan and sent the money they wanted in Bitcoin, and got rid of them, but never from my nightmares. I've been in a coma for 2 years. The world is not like the happy people you see on the street. When it gets dark, they all take off their masks and become pigs. The end. Thanks for listening.